Okay, to start off with, we're just going to apply some finishing touches to our application. And one minor annoyance is if I've scrolled down the page and then I click on an activity, I'm not put at the top of the page that I've moved on to. And you have to scroll up to see the small piece of the page that I've cut off by browsing to it. And this is a feature, let's call it a feature of React Router. And if we go into the web documentation and scroll down to where they've got their guides and take a look at scroll restoration, then they do say that in earlier versions of React Router they provided an out-of-the-box support for scroll restoration, and people have been asking for it ever since. And the reason they have removed it from React Router is that they say browsers are starting to handle scroll restoration with history push states on their own in the same manner they handle it with normal browser navigation. It already works in Chrome and it's really great. I tend to disagree because we've seen it doesn't really work in Chrome, as that's what I'm using, and I'm using the latest version of Chrome. So what we're going to take a look at is the scroll to top that they've provided as an example of how we can get around this and restore that functionality that was previously in React Router. It's only a small piece of code, and what they've provided is an example component that we can use to achieve this. So it uses the path name that it gets from the useLocation hook, and when the path name changes, which is in the dependency of the useEffect, then it's going to use the window scroll to function to put us back at the top of the page. So what we'll do is we'll just copy this in its entirety and put it into our clipboard and head back over to VS Code. And inside the client app, source, app, and layout folder, we'll create a new file. And we'll call it scroll to top.tsx. And then we'll just paste in the code in its entirety that we got from the React Router documentation. Like I say, there's not much to it, very simple. And what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll add it to our index.tsx file, as this needs to be applied at the top of our application, but inside the router. So what we'll do is we'll just add our new component, scroll to top, and we don't need to supply it with any parameters, and this should resolve that problem. And if we go back to the browser, and let's just go back to our activities, I'll scroll down and click on an activity, and it looks like I need to refresh the page, so let's do that first. And then go back to the activities and scroll down and then click on view, and now I'm at the top of the page, and that should be the same wherever I go in the application now. Great. What we'll take a look at next is adding support for private routes in our application. If Bob logs out, then he'll be able to still browse if he knows the links directly to our different components, and we'll take a look at that next.